start with Grant Ramey, then Mike Wilson.
Rick, it seemed like was pretty focused coming out at halftime. What was the message to him at the break?
Well, the message was really the younger guys understand needed to get the ball, so we tied out game, whether it was he or E, was the real message, because they were and John had struggled. And you meant it right there. He answered the bell coming out the second half, but he was able to get the ball, not just necessarily to score it, but to play inside out. We like those step-in threes that way. He made a couple great passes out. And but that was it. I mean, you look at the shot chart first half, Keon and Jaden, I think, had taken more shots and Eve and Folke. And we said, hey, we want those guys to be aggressive, but they've got to let those other guys touch the ball some and play off of them.
Rick, why the decision to go with Keon in the starting lineup, and how nice was that to see him make those free throws down the stretch?
Well, I think what's nice about it is we've told all those guys if they're going to finish games, they've got to be able to do that, and he has put a lot of time in free throw shooting. Our plan was, and we thought about both starting he and Jaden, but then Jaden, still from the injury Saturday, wasn't able to practice on what's the day, Wednesday? Monday. He only had 1 day prep to get ready, but and I've said it before, we could keep changing the lineup. We're going to keep searching until we find the exact right role for everybody, and we'll keep doing that. I was really pleased with at the end of the game. I do think that Jaden and Keon both early, defensively got hurt. They're playing against a level of competition they haven't played against consistently. They're learning how to play off-ball defense. They have a tendency to hug up a little bit more, but early in the second half, they were getting cut up pretty good by just not being on edge. The same with VJ. All three of those guys have got to get better for us off the ball, all three of them. They've got to understand sometimes there's just some emergency fix-it plays. And with that said and done, on the offensive end, you start the game and you think about those easy shots. You come back after a loss when we were as bad as we were Saturday. You want to come out and play well. You start the game where and we're going to miss some jump shots. We didn't shoot it particularly well tonight, but it's those rim shots that when you start missing those, you can feel the tension starting to build. It just puts a much more burden on your defense, and guys get a little more hesitant. And you can't play offensive basketball like that. But what you do have to learn to play is how we're supposed to play as a team to get things going, to where we stay in rhythm. So I hope we'll learn something from that tonight. But Josiah was terrific from start to finish. I mean, he was a guy that you could feel it. We could feel the tension, the momentum, whatever word you want to put on it. But he was the one guy that you could just tell was locked in. And then the second half, Folke came out and did what we expected him to do.
So why was Keon the choice to put him in the lineup? Was it something he'd done, or just you're looking for a change, or why was he the choice?
Defense. Most of these lineups will be changed because of defensive purposes, but again, we can't. The last game, Santi and VJ were terrible on defense. I mean, the points they gave up. And like I said, our guards can't do that. They can't put pressure on, or they've got to, and when they're not playing to the scout report, they can't, I don't care how many points they're scoring if they're giving up more. If they're scoring 10 and giving up 12, 14, it can't happen. And, but that's the whole reason that we looked at it. And we expect VJ, he's been here with us over a year and a half. We don't expect him to make the defensive mistakes he's making. And that's why he was shooting the ball well, but we took him out tonight because, again, he broke down twice. He gets beat on out of bounds plays where he just relaxes for a second. And that's what I told him when I took him out. You can't be a finisher if you can't play defense better than that these last 7 or 8 minutes.
Wes Rucker and Rob Lewis.
Rick, is Folke a guy that sometimes you just kind of have to challenge him to get the best out of him? Or I know some guys are just like that. He seems to respond when you challenge him usually.
He does, but you know what? He's banged, honestly, to his defense, he is banged up a little bit. He's got a little injury with his hand, left hand, and it does bother him. It does, but yet, Folke is not a guy that, he's such what would I say? I don't want to say laid back, whatever, but he wants to see his teammates do well too. And sometimes he defers too much. And tonight, the second half, I told him, it doesn't matter, man. You got to make these guys around you better. You're going to draw a crowd. Get him some wide open shots. And he needed to get moving. And I told him, I said, nobody's going to block your shot if you'll play quicker and be aggressive. You'll get off the ground. You'll make the right read. But if you get in there and start trying to pivot and do this and do that, you're not going to get a chance to play one-on-one because they're coming after you. And I thought he did a better job of that. But I do know he's having a little bit of trouble with his left hand.
Coach, you guys hadn't really had a close game, or at least one of this nature yet this season. How beneficial was it, especially for the young guys, to be in a game like that, pull it out at the end?
I think it's huge. I told him Saturday, get ready for those kind of games from here on out. I said, there are going to be those kind of games. And we hadn't been in a lot of them, even though you go back, Colorado game, Cincinnati game, they were all tight games, but it was different. Now you're in conference play where coaches know you, everybody knows it, they know what's coming. And, but the fact is, it gets tougher, but we've got to get better. And we said with 8-9 minutes going to the game, hey, get ready, strap it up here, because we're going to be in these games all year. We're going to have to make plays and help each other, and that's what we expect. But to answer your question, I think it's great because we did get some life there. Josiah got it going there for us, and we broke it loose. We had 20 turnovers. Should have had more points off those turnovers, but we didn't, and that's credit to them. But they turned it over 20 times, and I don't know what we got out of it, but I don't think we got a lot. And then the second half, again, trying to teach until we get these guys out there to understand. In our transition game, we can still play through our post players. We can do that. But they get going so fast sometimes they don't see it. And that's why we stopped and started slowing them down a little bit to make them understand this is how we've got to do things, half court, full court. And we keep telling them, if you're open, we want you to shoot the ball because we work too hard at it, and then we'll go rebound it. But, Rob, I think to answer your question quickly, it's no doubt it's to win one like this, hopefully it'll help us.
Tennessee had a 19-4 edge in points off turnovers. We'll go to Vince, then Ben McKee.
Rick, you didn't have ideal practice for Jaden Springer coming into this game. What'd you see from him tonight?
I have a lot of confidence in Jaden. I think that Jaden's still playing his way in shape. I don't think there's any question about that. I thought he really, I don't think he's totally 100% with his ankle yet, but he showed toughness by going out there. He said, I want to play. I want to do it. And I think that's why he probably missed those shots around the rim, because he doesn't normally do that. He doesn't. I mean, he's as good a finisher as we have, arguably maybe our second best post player. But I just think the more he and Keon can play and they understand what they're up against every night, the better they're going to get and the better we can become as a team.
Coach, two polar opposite halves of basketball in terms of shooting the basketball. Were you pleased with the looks in the first half, and do you feel like the second half was a more accurate representation of you all as a shooting team?
I always think it's better when we play the way we practice, and that way is we're looking to play high percentage basketball, and we want to shoot threes. Don't get me wrong, but we want to do it on our terms. We want to drive the ball hard. We want to make right decisions and move the ball. And when we get those wide open threes, we want to take it. We had a pretty good mixture. We did some things in transition. We actually, they went zone a couple times, which I think that's the first time Eric's done that since we played them the last 2 years. But and Jaden and those guys were looking to, they got a couple balls deflected backwards. And but overall, yeah, I would say the second half is more how we want to play. We got a combination of what we get in transition, and we want to execute what we call.
Ryan Shumpert and Scott Iceberg.
Just how important were forcing those 20 turnovers tonight, especially in the first half, as y'all kind of tried to hang in the game as the offense struggled?
Well, it's important. It is. And it's important trying to get to the free throw line. But I just go back to looking at it here. I know we missed those layups. And they're not, again, I don't think they're gimmies, but you like to think they are. I think we fouled 2 3-point shooters. We had a major mess up at the end of the first half where we planned for one shot, and BJ had the ball. He started things way too early, and Jaden goes in like he's just going to lay it up against a 7'3", 7'6" guy, and but gave them way too much time. They go down and score. But that's, you got, at the time, Santi wasn't out there. You had, I think we had VJ. I think we had Jaden, and I don't remember the other. And we were trying to run a little action to get us going downhill, but we're telling them to wait, but they didn't. And so you take away the 3-point shots, you take away the fouls, giving them points, and then you talk about the missed layups, those mental plays that we made. But again, I go back to what Rob said, the way we won it, I hope in the long run, it's going to be better for us, because we had to really fight, scratch, and claw against a terrific team that's coached well. They, I mean, what are they now, 9-2 or something, and lost their first game, and they're down a key player, but they're a difficult team to guard. They do some good stuff offensively and shoot the ball well. They had a great look at one where if they would have hit it, I think it would have put them up one. It could have been a momentum switch, momentum change, but we rebound the ball, and again, I'm just happy that it worked out for us.
Hey, Rick, this is Scott Eisberg down in Charleston, South Carolina. Was wondering if you've seen any kind of extra mental fortitude or using basketball as a release for Josiah this week. I know his house suffered a fire this past week. Nobody was hurt or anything, but I know a lot of his basketball memorabilia and stuff was lost in it. Have you seen him kind of with an extra focus, a release with basketball this week?
Josiah is just an incredible human being. And, his mom waited till after the game Saturday to tell him what had happened. And he's the kind of guy that keeps a lot within himself. And I'm sure that, he hasn't been home in a while, but probably thinking back that it's all gone. It's all gone. He lost everything in his room. And I remember the night we go in and recruited him, he had a North Carolina. He had actually committed to us, but I go up in his room and he walked me, and he had a North Carolina poster in his room. And all I said to him, I told him how sorry we felt about it. I said, but the good thing is that poster got burned up, But he handles it well, I mean, he's such a mature guy. But his mom, we've talked to her a couple of times, and she just said, hey, keep an eye on him, because he's the kind of guy that will hold things in. And but he's such a hard worker. And he is a guy that, I mean, he's a teammate. I mean, he's as good a teammate as you want to be around. And tonight, he's quickly starting to become the voice of this team in terms of talking during timeouts, talking to guys when they're down, first guy to go up to them and encourage guys and all those type things. And but I'm sure that somewhere in the back of his mind, he's thought a lot about it, but obviously his main thought was that everybody was safe. And but I'm sure it'll even hit him more when the season's over with and go home and it's not home anymore.
We'll finish up with
Thanks,
Jason Wyrick, Wes Rucker, and Grant Ramey.
Coach, after a tough sequence to end the first half, you guys came out with a renewed energy to begin the second. And how integral was that to keeping the turnover dominance and eventually taking back the lead?
Well, it's important, because you let a team like Arkansas stretch it out on you. They're a hard team to come back against, because once they get feeling good and get going, like most teams, they can put some runs together. I just thought we played with much more purpose offensively, and they're a difficult team to defend, but you just keep fighting on that end. And we just feel at some point in time, we're going to make some shots. I mean, all teams go through it. And when you do, that's when you got to find a way to survive it and realize that you can win some games some nights when you're not shooting as well as you want to. But you go back to when you're not shooting well, you can't foul 3-point shooters. You can't miss layups. You can't, or dunks, and you can't, give them just easy stuff. And so I thought our guys, other than that, they were locked in. But no doubt the second half, we came out and said, we're going to put that ball inside. And they did it.
Rick, I know that at least statistically going into this game, Keon's not been a great free throw shooter, but he had some really tough ones there in the second half and knocked him down. How important is that for a guy like him? Because as athletic as he is and as aggressive as he is, he's probably going to get to the line a lot. How important is that for him?
Same thing. We've told him, Wes, that, hey, if you're going to play at the end, you better be able to make free throws if you want to be out there. And to his credit, he has spent a lot of time last week shooting free throws. And we've got a special, I mean, when I walked out of the locker room tonight, we had 2 guys heading up to the gym that didn't play tonight, knowing that, hey, they'll get ready and they'll help us at some point. But that's the kind of team that we have here. He has been spending time shooting free throws, continuing to work on ball handling, all those type things. And he's going to have to. He's got to do it. And I don't have a problem with him shooting threes, but he better know when to shoot them. Like the one he shot tonight, he should have swung it to Josiah. And then the one at Fulke went to Fulke and came right back out. He should have shot it. And then when he walked over, I said, now that's the three you got to shoot. That's the one you've got to shoot. And people are going to look at his numbers, and they're going to say, hey, we'll let you have all you want right now. But he can shoot the ball, but he'll settle in there. There's no doubt Jaden can shoot the ball. They'll settle in terms of understanding more. They're young, and they have been hurt more by what's going on this year than anybody. But the exciting thing is how good I think they can be as we continue to move forward.
Rick, do you have any idea what happened to Fulke's knee in the second half? And were you surprised to get him back as quickly as you did? And also, Olivier didn't play tonight. Is there a reason behind that?
No, it's just the way the game got going with defense. And again, most of our subs, when we go into games, and the reason I put Urosh in front of Olivier tonight was one reason. We were struggling on offense. And one thing that when Urosh goes into the game, he is a really good connector in terms of he moves better right now offensively in terms of just getting the ball moving, because I thought we were just dribble, nothing was happening. And that's why we put it in. But then I took him out because a scout report mistake. He didn't do what he needed to do there. But I've got a lot of confidence to know. I just think he's going to continue to work. I still think he's young to the game, and he needs to go. But tonight we just felt these guys defensively, as much as we could, we were better off if we're going to take Fulke or Eve out, even EJ not playing as much. We just felt like we could guard them better with a smaller lineup. When that was having Josiah at the 4 when Eve wasn't in or Fulke wasn't in.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you, guys.
You can now raise hands.